Hello, this is Anna Imagination. We're talking about vitology this morning. And I'm building my thing. I'm finishing it up and I'm like putting all the little knobs and doohickeys all over the place. And I'm very excited. And I'm now looking at the big picture. I love big pictures. They're so wonderful. And I'm at a point where I'm definitely getting back into my podcasting again. Woohoo! And I'm looking at all these different things that are coming together. So I have Pando now. Pando is my networking mission. I love networking. I love it so much. And I have been part of about 4 different massive networking groups, huge networking groups. And they all did the exact same thing. Now there are, and I learned this when I studied economics. So there's these, we're going to call them formulas, but they're the wrong formula. I'm just going to come right out. They're the wrong fucking formula. If they were the right formula, everyone would be rich. And we're not. We're all poor, which means they're giving us the poor man's formula. So there is the poor man's formula. And then there is the rich man's formula. And I have the rich man formula. I know because my formulas all match rich dad, poor dad. They're the same damn formulas. I'm sitting here reading his book going, wow, he's using the same formulas I use. Only I applied it to healing, which is why I'm fixed. He applied it to money. And I went, you can apply it to money. And I've got the theory and the philosophy behind what he does. And I'm going, this is fucking awesome. It's a one size fits all formula that literally is just the success formula. Let's just call it the success formula. We're going to call it the success formula. And the success formula literally can get plugged into anything and boom, success. And it can be plugged into parenting. I use it for parenting and it's extraordinary. I plug it into, which is what my rebel parenting podcast is focusing on. And I have rebel parenting classes also. I have this formula that I plug into education and it's fucking amazing. And now I'm plugging it into networking. I've plugged it into business and CEOs. So I just finished my course on business CEOs there. And now I'm just kind of sitting back from it all going, oh, right, I see what's going on. So what you're given whenever you get into business, whenever you get into anything, you are literally learning poor man's formula or poor man's economics. And poor man economics is literally an entire economic structure and model built off of scarcity. 100%. The whole fucking course is just scarcity. And this, on a philosophical point of view, I saw that and I went, are you insane? Are you guys fucking insane? I said to the people who created economics. And then I looked at rich man's formula. And here's the difference. This is really interesting. The poor man's economics is all built and centered around scarcity. The rich man's model and economics is literally centered around power. Who's rich? Who's rich? Who's wealthy? Who's successful? I don't know what the fuck they were doing. So whenever you study economics in college, universities, anywhere, you're actually studying poor man's economics. So you're literally being groomed for poor man mentality, poor man mindset, which is scarcity mindset, which is why in the very first lesson, I walked in there and they're like, we're going to teach you about scarcity. Why? What the fuck are you doing? And I went through, I'm still in the classes because I want to see what they're doing as opposed to what I'm doing. And they're walking through it and I'm going, you are grooming people to have a scarcity mindset. You're literally right out the gates. You are teaching people to have a scarcity mindset. And then they turn around and they can't get rich. They can't do business. And I'm going, are you fucking kidding me? And then there are entrepreneurs who figure this out, who go, businessmen know jack and shit about business. They go to school, they go to college and universities, and they walk away from business school going, you guys don't know jack and fucking shit about business. It's because they're teaching poor man economics and poor man business. All of the how to run a business and here's your funnel and here's your formulas. That's all poor man stuff, which is why everyone's poor. So when you study rich man economics or power economics, completely different ballgame. It's because they're using different formulas. So I just got done putting together all of this, and here's the key. This is key. This is where it's like, wow, this is awesome. So there is something I call the success formula, and this success formula is literally all under the subject of vitology. Vitology is something I invented because it's my mastery. It's what I do. And the success formula is basically what psychologists tried and failed to do, which is why psychology is in the shithole because, yeah, they don't know what they're doing because they don't have the success formula. They have poor man economics. They have poor man shit going on over there. So there's four subjects that are the same subject, the same fucking subject, and no one's gotten it right, which is why everything is just shit right now. And those subjects are psychology, economics, education, and business. These are the four subjects that when you put them all together, all four of them across the board are just doing fucking shit right now. The economy's in the toilet. Psychology is a fucking nightmare. Education is, we're just going to set that over there. And businesses are unethical. In addition to all of these four major societal problems, these are four major societal problems. The people are all just screaming, what the fuck is going on? Will you get your fucking shit together? And they can't because everybody has studied poor man economics. The people who are masters at this shit have mastered poor man economics. So we have master poor people here. That's what we have. They've mastered the art of being poor. They have mastered the art of being dangerously ignorant. And they're spreading the same bullshit around, making poor people poorer, which is why the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. It's because the people who run the world are idiots. And when you have the success formula and you figure out how it plugs into these four things, which is what I did, is I figured out how it plugs into psychology, how it plugs into education, how it plugs into economics, and how you can plug that into business. It's a game changer. It changes everything. So this whole thing with vitology is now I'm going, all right, so I got the thing, I got the formula, I've got it all figured out, and I'm getting ready to like plug it in. And I've got a lot. I've got my science space where I'm putting my stuff through science. It's gone through the scientific method. Now it's under peer review. It's checking out. I've got case studies done, and now I'm moving on to clinical studies. In addition to clinical studies, I also have, clinical case studies, clinical trials. So we're getting ready for clinical trials. And in addition to that, the abstract is written, the science is done, we're good to go on that. So the science is a huge check. So then on the business aspect, we have basically the whole business in place. So I have my Pando network, and that is literally the dedication and the network for ensuring that, well, basically it's a networking space for people who practice and believe in ethical business practice. It is literally a space where everyone involved prioritizes humanity above profit, which is like a huge key component of business that is absolutely thrown out with poor man economics. So that networking is now available. It's free. And I love that so much. So that's Pando Network. That's set on Alexandria's website. And I have now my course material for triadic healing is all done. And I am currently building my three plans. I have a franchise that I am putting together. I have my CEO for corporate plan that I have, so that if you own a corporation or if you have staff, if you have a business, we can negotiate a deal, plug that in, and that gets triadic healing to your staff, to your members, and to their families. So that is available now. And then I'm looking to get this for free to school teachers and into US schools so that teachers and students can also access triadic healing. And then in addition to the schools, the CEO corporations, and the franchises, the last place I'm looking is the light workers. And it's basically, this is something where I'm like trying to figure out, I definitely can feel something there, but I'm in the process of shaping this now. on basically the light workers' mission or goal. Like there's something there, and I'm carving that out now. So that's my current agenda. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I've got the science and the philosophy, and I have the Pando network done now for business, for community, and for, yeah, community and that. And I have my playground, which is actually part of the Pando network in the healing network is my playground. But my playground is going to be in the future. That's going to come later. So I have all these tiers that I've worked out. And vitology is a huge, it's all of this. It's vitology is the school of hard knocks. It's everything that we are currently trialing and erroring right now. And whenever you do anything scientific method, you have to trial and error it. And if you figure it out, you can stop trial and erroring it, and then you can teach it. Did you hear what I just said? You're either trial and erroring it or you're teaching it. So some things that we have figured out is cooking. We have cooking figured out. Oh, good God, do we have cooking figured out? We don't need to trial and error cooking. We all have it figured out. And if you don't, you go take a class and you got it figured out. And it's this beautiful, and I love cooking because this cracks me up. The only ones who can't agree on cooking, who are still trial and erroring it, are the Italians and the French. And they've got this gorgeous, friendly competition happening of the French way and the Italian way, and they're at war. A very friendly war, but they're at war. Oh, if only all wars were like this. Is they are at war, and they got this thing happening between cooking. And whenever you get into cooking, it's like you have to choose a side, or a lot of us just hybrid them and merge them together. And you got to choose: are you going to learn the French way of cooking, or are you going to learn the Italian way of cooking? And then you just merge them both together, and then you got your own hybrid. And that's what a lot of people do, is they study both techniques and they merge them together. So the rest of the world has cooking figured out, except those two. But they are also at the lead of, they're the pioneers of cooking. So we're not going to fuck around with what they've got going over there, because they got it figured out. They're the scientists of cooking. That's what they are. They are the scientists. And you can prescribe to one or the other or both, but that's my point. When you think cooking, there's no debate unless you're French or Italian. There's no debate. You got your shit figured out. You don't know how to cut a tomato? You fucking Google that bad boy. And everyone agrees this is the way to cut a tomato. This is the way to proficiently cut an onion. There's no debate. It's done. Trial and error ended centuries ago. And it was funny. I was thinking about why, and I'll tell you why. We prioritized cooking. Now, my beautiful brain went, we prioritized cooking because food matters, because food has to taste good. No, we perfected cooking so we don't die from food poisoning. That's why. Like, survival was required. Self-preservation mandated that cooking is first. Isn't that amazing? How self-preservation kicked into our brains and we went, look, if we don't figure this shit out, we're going to die. Isn't that amazing? I love our psychology. That's exactly what happened. Our brains went, guys, we got to talk about this, because if we don't figure out cooking fast, we're all going to die. We're not going to make it. So we prioritized cooking a long time ago, and the trial and error era ended, and it moved into the teaching and mastery. And now all that's left are the pioneers. We call those the French and the Italians. So the French and the Italians are pioneering, and other people are pioneering. I know that, but that's not the point. The point is, you've got your pioneers who are pioneer cookers, who are like adding on to what we already know. And then there is the teaching stage, and then there's the trial and error stage. So this is how knowledge exists. Are we all on the same page now? You've got your trial and error, you've got your teaching, and then you've got your pioneering. And it goes in that order. If you don't have trial and error figured out, don't fucking touch teaching. And if you have trial and error picked out, that's when you start teaching. And once you got teaching, well, that's where the pioneers step in. So another area, aside from cooking, another area where we have all this figured out is physics. We got physics. Well, let's clarify. We got classic physics figured out. We don't have quantum physics figured out. That's pioneering. Quantum physics is pioneering. That's what that is. But we got physics figured out. Compliments of Newton. So a long time ago, we figured out physics and we stopped trial and erroring it. Now we're teaching physics the right way because we all agree, all physicists agree in classic physics, this is the way. And it's unanimous until you step over into quantum physics and they're all going, oh, we have no fucking idea what we're doing. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I love quantum physicists. They are the most humbled people in the world. They know nothing and they don't have anything to prove. They're going, we don't know jack and fucking shit. And we're not trying to teach this shit. We don't know what we're doing. Everything over here is a theory. I love quantum physicists. I love them so much. They are the archetype of actual teaching, of actual knowledge. If that's exactly how the world works. So we've stopped trial and erroring classic physics, and now we teach classic physics. But the pioneers are the quantum physicists going, I don't have any fucking idea what the hell is out here. What the hell is unified theory? String theory? Hey, guys, I got this new idea. How about this? String theory. Yeah, everything's strings. Yeah, and they know this. They know it. They're pioneers. They're up there with all the other chefs creating new shit to do in the cooking world, but we've got it figured out. So aside from physicists and cooking, we also have mathematicians. Mathematicians also have the world figured out. They've had the world figured out for fucking centuries. We don't have to debate this. We all know 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. Calculus. We all know this shit. So we're sitting here going, all right, we got math figured out. Now, if you don't know, and if you're new to math, we're going to be very blunt. Math is actually logic in disguise. It's really what math is. It's logic in disguise. And the disguise is called shorthand. That's right. Yeah, it's actually in disguise. The disguise is mathematics. We're not going to tell you it's logic that we're doing. We're going to call it math because we're going to hide the logic. So that's really what's going on with mathematicians. And they all know it again. And sure enough, there are the pioneers creating new weird mathematical shit. But they know they're teaching it and it's pioneering. So we got physics, we got math, we've got cooking. We also have chemistry. They've got their shit fucking figured out. Astronomists, they've got their fucking shit kind of figured out. Same thing, teaching it, pioneering it. They go hand in hand. Now, these are the shit that we know. And ironically, these are mostly called scientists. This is not an accident. Now, the other people who've got shit figured out, compliments of Pythagoras, is musicians. Musicians know their fucking shit because in the year 400 BCE, Pythagoras said, this is the circle of fifths, people. This is how physics works. This is math and this is music. So compliments of Pythagoras, we have music all figured out. We figured that out in the year 400 and something BCE, like 300 in BCE. Pythagoras is the one who figured that shit out for us. And we have all agreed for almost 2,000 years that music is X. So we got music figured out. Music is set. We have art figured out, like painting. And we have dance figured out. Compliments of Russia and France again. Thank you very much, people. Ballet. My brain is a ballet brain, so I immediately think Russia and France, but I'm well aware that the entire fucking world has their own thing. So, and I'm currently learning salsa and bachata, so, all right. So we got dance figured out. We got music figured out. We've got art figured out. We have reading and writing figured out. Reading and writing, we got that figured out. So here's what we don't have figured out. Are we ready? These are all the stuff that we figured the fuck out, and we're now teaching it and pioneering it. Woohoo! So here's what we don't have figured out. Teaching. Yes, the irony is not lost on me. Teaching. We do not have teaching figured out, which is why everyone is stupid. Teaching. Learning. We do not have learning figured out. If we had learning figured out, learning is not teaching. We do not have psychology figured out. Actually, we do. Pythagoras did that too, but no one's reading his shit, so we don't have it figured out. Instead, we're reading all of Freud's stupid shit. And we have parenting. Parenting is not figured out. We all know that. That's why we're all arguing over the right way to raise children. We also do not have economics figured out. Again, we do. It's in Pythagoras' work in philosophy, but no one's reading that. And we have did I miss anything? Teaching, learning, psychology, parenting, economics. Yeah, I think that is everything. Government. We do not have government figured out. Look at the job they're doing. All right, so there you go. These are the subjects that we do not have figured out, which means we have no fucking business teaching these subjects because we're not doing it right, because we're in trial and error with all of these, which is why we all have our own way of doing things, which is a really nice way of saying, I don't have a fucking idea what I'm doing. When everyone has their own way of doing things, it's because we don't have a fucking clue. Because we're all trial and erroring it. We have 8 billion people all trial and erroring the same goddamn thing. Teaching, learning, psychology, parenting, economics, and government. You know what's funny? These are literally, when combined, the same subject. These are the same subject. It's called vitology. That is exactly what this is. And it requires the success formula. Every now and then, money. Money is the other thing we do not have figured out, which is kind of part of economics, but it's really not. It's actually part of human circuitry. So these are the things that we do not have figured out, which is why it's a mess. But the problem is our educational system is so fucking bad right now and always has been that we don't even know that we don't have these figured out. We're all walking around like professionals going, oh yeah, we got this figured out. Really? Really? Because statistics says otherwise. Because when you have something figured out, things change. Like polio. We got polio figured out. You know how I know we got polio figured out? When was the last time we had a polio outbreak in the United States? You know why? Because we figured it out. That's why. Medicine is interesting. Because medicine, we did figure out, we have it figured out, but we got a lot of corrupt assholes fucking around with it. So medicine this is where the governing of medicine is fucked up. We've got medicine figured out, but we don't have government. Ooh, deja vu. Oh, I've been here before. Oh, this is amazing. I know this moment. I know what I'm supposed to say next. Okay. So we have government are not figured out, but we have medicine figured out. But the problem is the government keeps fucking around with our medicine. So we need to get them out of our medicine so medicine can do what medicine does. So medicine is kind of stuck right now. And polio is one of those examples where when things are figured out, it goes away, which is why polio is not around. I know somebody who had polio. I got to see firsthand what polio looks like. You don't want it. It's not fucking pretty. It's horrific. And he was the best friend of my grandfather, had ended up with polio as a child. So that was back in the 1920s. He was one of the last cases to get polio in our country before it was resolved. And I remember growing up asking what happened to him. Why is he physically like this? And I grew up with he had polio as a child. And so I know, I've seen it, what polio looks like, what the side effects of polio look like. And to hear that there's now a polio vaccine and we've resolved it and there hasn't been any polio outbreak in the United States, I know the weight of what that means. And then I watched a documentary on a country. I can't remember which country it is. It's either in Africa or India. I cannot remember which, but polio is rampant over there. And sure enough, I got to see an entire population that looked like my grandfather's best friend, an entire population of cripples, an entire population of cripples. That's polio. And when I saw it, and I look at America and I'm going, you don't have a fucking clue the power of vaccines. You don't have a fucking clue. I grew up around a man who had polio. And then when I saw that documentary and I saw an entire population of cripples, they took the vaccine over there and they were giving it out for free, just trying to get it under control. And they were talking to the people, and they said, do you understand that there's people in America who fight this? And they're looking at them going, why? Why would you fight this? And they were looking at the cameras like, do they not know the horror of polio? Do they not understand the horror of these plagues? No, we are so ignorant of plague in this country that we have no fucking clue. We have no clue. And I credit a lot. I credit a lot to watching my grandfather's best friend. I saw him every weekend. And so I know polio. I know what it does. And I am so fucking grateful for that vaccine. I cannot explain to you the devastation. And either you know something or you don't know it. But there's another catch here. There's the arrogance of thinking you know it when you don't. And that's the difference. That's really a big, big difference in our culture, is we are so fucking arrogant. It's disgusting. Teachers walk around claiming they know shit, and they don't even know how to teach. They don't. That's why we have so many bad teachers. I want you to just sit on the term bad teacher. Bad teacher. I was watching Harry Potter, and I'm sitting here watching Umbridge, and I'm watching Snape. And I know teachers who taught like that. It's fucking terrorism. It's terrorism. We live in a country where we use terrorism for teaching, and we think it's okay because we don't know better. That's how stupid we are. That's how stupid we all are, is we see terrorism and think, yeah, that's the way you teach. And we're so uneducated that we don't know how uneducated we are. I had a teacher in my 6th grade who bragged about beating children, about how she missed the times of being able to beat us. Welcome to the 80s. And I can't tell you how many professional educators, and this is the sick thing. There's the teachers, and they fucking want to care. They do care, and they fucking want the right answers, and they know that what they were taught is jack and fucking shit. I've talked to those teachers, and they're like, this is what they've given us. What the fuck is this shit? And they figured it out. They have figured it out, but there's no answer. And they're going, we don't have teaching figured out. What they told us is bullshit. What the fuck is going on? And then I talked to their teachers. I talked to the teacher of teachers. I'm mad. So when I talked to the teachers of teachers, this is what I got. The pomposity and the arrogance of, oh, well, I have teaching expertise of 40 years. I am a professional educator, and I know everything. And I'm like, you don't know damn fucking shit. Look at the state of the country. You don't have a fucking clue what you're doing. You're in charge of this mess. She was one of the most elite educators in the country. And I'm going, so you're the one in charge of it. And she was so fucking pompous. Oh yeah, I've got all this education, and you know, there's so many factors to consider. Not according to Einstein and Newton. According to Einstein and Newton, if it can't be explained by you simply, it's because you don't understand it enough. Einstein. So yeah, it is simple. It is simple. Education and learning is already done. It's inside of us when we're born. The subconscious mind is extraordinary. We are born with all the wiring in place to just let it alone and be. But because educators and parents think they know better, they fuck with it. Imagine being born with a perfect clock that keeps perfect time, that does everything it's supposed to be without anything for you to do. And the first thing you do is you think you know better, so you take the clock apart, you remove a few springs, and you put it back. And it never works the same. That is what every parent and teacher is ignorantly doing to their children. Now, some people have figured it out. Some people are starting to ask the question. By the way, that is where education starts. You ask the question. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. If we have the answers, why is so much wrong? That's the first question. If everything is so right, then why is everything so wrong? It's because we are in the trial and error stage of teaching, learning, psychology, money, parenting, economics, and government. That's why. That's what we don't have figured out. But a lack of education is so horrific that we think we got it figured out. So I am a master at identifying catalyst and symptom, catalyst and consequence. And everything in logic and mathematics comes down to the mastery and the study of where's the catalyst and where's the consequence. And if you can figure out the catalyst, you can figure all this out. Catalysts are always invisible, always. What is visible is the first symptom. So everyone often, because of poor education, looks at the first symptom and goes, oh, there's the catalyst. No. What do detectives do? Every FBI thing does this. Every FBI show. Every time you track a serial killer, what is the formula? Let's think. What does every serial killer result in? Every time there's a crime of a serial killer, what happens? You got all the slew of murders. They all are identical. They figure out which ones have the same pattern. They get to the first one. And what's the discovery? It's never the first one. It's the first one that they've perfected. The catalyst is always invisible. So they realize, well, we have our first perfect, but they always did it the first time and they fucked it up and they learned and they changed. After they perfected it, that's the one we caught. And those are the ones that follow. Where's the invisible, unperfect murder? Because it's the unperfect one that's going to show us who killed them. The question is, can you find the catalyst? Every time they find the catalyst, they find the murderer. Every time. And a murder goes unsolved when there's only one, because they can't find a pattern. You need 3 data points to find a pattern. So you go to the invisible catalyst. And that's where, if you fix the one invisible catalyst, it chain reacts. It's called a waterfall effect. And you get a massive chain reaction right through the whole thing, if you know where to go. The answer is education. Education. You fix education, and everything else will just click, 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 click right into place. You fix education, and you fix teaching, learning, psychology, money, parenting, economics, and government, and they are all the same thing. This is vitology. This is absolutely vitology. It is the success formula. It's the God code. It is the solution to Tesla's 369 method. And it is the common denominator of every single success story. But you got to know math. You got to know logic. Now, you can know all this shit until you're blue in the face. But if you can't communicate, now that's where teaching comes in. If you can't communicate it, it does jack and shit. It stays inside of you. In economics, well, I got to switch modes. In physics and in batteries, this is known as a circuit. This is known as an electrical anode versus, a cathode. Is that what it's called? And you're looking to transfer things over from point A to point B. It is literally the transference of data from point A to point B via a circuit. Now you've got a network, which is economics, which is physics, which is teaching, learning, and psychology. Teaching, learning, psychology, money, parenting, economics, government, all of these have one thing in common, and it is called the circuitry of physics. Once you realize that all of these follow the same laws of physics, game over. We're done. All you have to do is plug it in, if you can find the common denominators. Once you figure out the physics formula, you have vitology. And it is literally all the stuff we've already mastered, all the stuff we already have figured out, minus quantum physics, guys, all figured out. And it's all just sitting there in teaching, learning, psychology, money, parenting, economics, and government. And being able to locate the common denominator of everything that's gone wrong versus everything that is consistently the same in all of those and then being able to locate the proper catalyst, which is education. Because had the educators been humble and admitted they don't know a goddamn thing, they would be in the trial and error stage. So really what happened is the educators stepped out of the trial and error stage and moved into the I know what I'm doing stage and started teaching without the right answer. Because teachers and educators did not use scientific method. Because they did not use scientific method, they thought they would just do whatever the fuck they wanted. And as a result, they abandoned the trial and error stage and they moved into the teaching mode prematurely. This is where everything fucked up. They prematurely stepped into the teaching mode. Now, you've got some places that are still trial and erroring. That's where we see a lot of new school systems popping up in Japan. That's where we see a lot of new school systems popping up all over the place because they are reinventing the wheel because they realized, oh, we did done fuck this up. We need to go back to trial and error because we don't have it right. But there's a lot of new teachers. A lot of old teachers who are fighting it saying, oh no, we have the answer. The problem is they tell everybody else that they've got the right answer. And because they're teachers, trust and power, they are now using their trust and their power to convince a whole lot of uneducated people that they educated, that they know better. So you've got all these people who don't know how to question because they weren't taught by these people. They weren't taught how to be curious. They weren't taught how to look at contradiction or anomaly because the educators never taught them. And as a result, when the educators who they trust and who use their power over people say, oh yeah, we got the answer, we got it figured out, no one is noticing, very few people are noticing, if they've got it figured out, why is everyone stupid? If they've got it figured out, then why is psychology the way it is? Who's responsible for teaching psychologists? Educators. Who's responsible for teaching economics? Educators. Who's responsible for teaching people how to be ethical in government? Teachers. But because teachers think they know their fucking shit and they've moved on to teaching instead of trial and erroring, they're teaching the wrong things. So to fix this, we have to go back to trial and error, or we have to try the right answer. It begins with power. It begins with our relationship with power. All of this, all of it. That is the starting point. That is the X marks the spot, start here. It begins with power. It begins with our comprehension of power. Nothing else, just our comprehension of power. Not immediately you have power, therefore go, you sit down. Sit down. It begins with our understanding of our relationship to power. When we are abused, we talk about all the horrible things that were done to us. We talk about everything, who did or did not listen to us. We talk about the pain of it, the suffering of it. What really took place in every abusive situation is they compromised our power. That's all. They just compromised our power. They took it without consent. They compromised it. They compromised it using something called equal footing. Equal footing is a very powerful thing. And when you understand the psychology of equal footing, it changes everything. I was watching Harry Potter movie 5. Okay, so my daughter just binged all the Potter movies while she's binging all the movies. So I'm going to be talking for Potter for a while here, you know. And I was watching the 5th movie. It's so hard to get through that film. It's so hard to get through that film. And there's this beautiful saying, my God, do I love it, where Umbridge is on a staircase with McGonagall. I must have rewound this thing like 3 times to show my daughter and analyze and break down what's going on. This is intuition at work. Human core, basic intuition of power. And we instinctively know it, but we don't know it. So I got the theory, and I'm going to give you the theory of power. This is awesome. Fifth movie. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's not in the book. You got to watch. Well, is it in the book? Is it? Have you read the fifth book yet? Okay. Let me know when you get to this point because I want to know if it's in the book. In the movie, it's the scene right after that fucking bitch had Harry carve "You must not tell lies" into his hand. And McGonagall found out that she was punishing students via this method in other ways. So McGonagall confronts the bitch. And it's Umbridge on the steps with McGonagall. Now, McGonagall is taller than Umbridge, the actors. Umbridge is shorter. This is important. This is part of it. So the two women are standing on the steps. And they're not eye to eye. McGonagall is higher. And she says, "We don't punish students like this. This is absolutely torturous. We don't do this." "Oh, I'm sorry," says Umbridge. And she steps up, standing over McGonagall. So now it's like this. I'm under the impression that you think you're in charge. And McGonagall says, "This school is under the guidance and laws of Hogwarts and the headmaster." And Umbridge steps up and says, "It's funny that you think so, because it's the ministry who's in charge. I don't think you quite understand that I speak for the minister. And if the ministry or I think there's a problem, then it's really I who's in charge." And McGonagall drops one step while Umbridge steps another. And McGonagall says, "I see." And she submits. Equal footing. This is what we refer to as the upper hand. The upper hand is literally who has the most power. A narcissist knows this knowledge. A narcissist has mastered this knowledge. All abusers have figured this out on an intuitive level, and they use it 100% to their advantage. The only ones who have not figured it out are the victims and the empaths. So if you are a victim or an empath, actually empaths are figuring it out. Empaths are learning it the hard way. Empaths are about 50% there in this lesson. It is the everybody else. If you don't count yourself an empath, you have not figured it out. If you are not an abuser, you have not figured it out. It's in your intuition, but no one is aware of the actual philosophy or theory behind it. Our entire culture revolves around it. The hierarchy is it. Equal footing is where and only where a connection can occur, and it is the only place where consent can exist. It is the only place where two people can share vulnerability, and it is the only place where an exchange or an ethical trade can occur. Now, when I say ethical trade or exchange, I am not referring to money. Money is part of it. I am referring to a connection, whether it be verbal or emotional or with resources, any kind of connection. If you are not on equal footing, then it is not consensual. Equal footing is the equilibrium as discussed in mathematics and physics and logic. Mother Nature is obsessed with her equilibrium, and she will do anything to preserve her even stima and that karma balancing out. So equal footing is really you standing on the equilibrium. An abuser compromises this by boosting themselves up with compliments, boosting themselves up with bragging, or pushing you down with insults. Passive aggressive sounds like a compliment while they push you down. They've compromised equal footing. Now they stand with more power than you over you. This is rape. 100% of all rape. It is the compromise of equal footing. It is the abuser attacking, assaulting, and compromising the equal footing so that they have more than you, more power. When you understand how power works, you can stop this from happening. You can take it back. You can preserve your own. You can fight it. You can defend it. And you can make sure that they stay on equal ground with you. But there's only one way to do this: education and knowledge. This is how fucking priceless this information is. You get this information and you stop being abused. Because what ends up happening is the narcissist and abuser has found ways, every single way, to compromise the equal footing, to take your power from you without you even know that that's what they're doing. It's because you're ignorant. That's why. So when you become educated about this, you can know, oh wait, this is what they're doing, and this is how they're doing it, and this is why they're doing it. And then you can stop it. You can prevent it. You can avoid it. Now you know what you're fighting. Now you know what you are fighting. Narcissists and abusers, manipulators, governments, educators, they all have used this tactic intuitively. They don't know that they're doing it. They just do it. They have been trained so deeply as to how to do this that it's intuition. It's called a tradesman. They've mastered the art on an intuitive level, but they can't explain the theory. No one understands this theory. You have to study power economics to understand this theory. But once you get this information, you are formidable. Suddenly, everything in the world becomes equal footing, and you understand how they can get the upper hand, how you can make sure that you preserve the power on your end to stay on equal footing. Yes, you could use it to put down other people, but we're all already doing that. Knowing how power works between two individuals, between anything, is 100% the core of absolutely educating yourself and preserving yourself against further abuse. Now, there is an evaluation process called the appraisal. The appraisal process is the process of assessing or determining the quantity of power that someone has. Now, this is where things get really fucking dirty. They fall into two categories, this appraisal process. There is true appraisal, and then there is fake appraisal or false appraisal. True appraisal is knowledge. It is information. It is your ethics. It is your choices made consciously. That's pretty much it. Fake appraisal is your race, your gender. It's your degree or your education level. It's how much money you have, how pretty you are, how pretty your wife is, how much you possess, what you possess. These are fake appraisals that people make to falsely determine your value. When they use fake appraisal, they immediately invent a hierarchy of, I've got the upper hand and you've got the lower hand. I'm in charge and you're not. And that is fake appraisal. Now you've got the hierarchy system. Now you've got people sitting in a pecking order. The pecking order is 100% the manipulation and control of seeking the upper hand to ensure that you stay lower than them at all times, of course. But when you become aware of this knowledge, It completely stops existing. It literally only exists if you don't know about it. The emperor is naked. The emperor is naked. So as soon as you become aware, the hierarchy ceases to exist. So it's really important that you not have this information. It's really important that you not be educated on it. I have a problem with that. So when you understand how power actually works, that the true power is in your choice of knowledge and your choice of information and your choice of ethics. We'll talk about that later. And your choice of consciousness. Now you have power. By the way, I'm going to point out that every single one of those things is a choice. Because power is freedom, which is why it's really important that you stay a slave. Thank you very much. And may the kindest of words always find you.